Another Tuesday, another podcast. Welcome to Soliverse, where solar meets business and innovation. I'm your host, Peter Pongratz, and on a mission to unpack the brightest minds and the boldest ideas at the intersection of solar energy, entrepreneurship, and cutting edge innovation. This is a special episode. It's a recap rounding up the best moments from last month's conversations. You will hear a short clip from each of the guests, giving you a taste of their insights, perfect from jumping into topics.
One, two, three, four.
This is a short clip from Michael Zapf, CEO of Heliokraft, a solar engineering and design company. Please enjoy.
We have two projects that excite me very much in the long term. One of them is that we are trying to build a e-mobility charging park for trucks. Not so much for personal vehicles, but really for electrical trucks. And we're trying to do this as self-sufficiently as possible. So what we are trying to aim for is to have a big ground mount solar power plant. We have a big battery system that acts as a buffer battery. And we have a high voltage megawatt charging system that caters to the trucks. And the thing is that usually if you have this kind of setup, you would have the ground mount system would have an inverter that converts the direct current to alternating current. And then the battery system would have a power conversion system that would take the alternating current, transform it back into direct current. Then when somebody comes to charge, we will take the direct current from the battery, transfer it to alternating current, and then feed it back at the charging point and transform it back to direct current and then charge the direct current into the truck. So what we're trying to aim for is to have a system in place that will operate with a direct current bus system, meaning that you don't have this many conversion systems that are happening, which greatly increases the efficiency of the whole system. I think that's something that's fairly new. I know that there are a couple of systems up and running that already do the combination of charging, solar, and battery. So that's something that we are very much looking forward to develop this and put this project in place. And the second project I'm very excited about, that would be a facility of a big charity in Germany that's housing mentally challenged people. The facility was built in the 50s, so their energy system is really, really outdated. They still have oil heatings. They have a very old grid. And what we're trying to do is to install a combination of a ground mount solar park and a fifth generation near district heating and cooling system, meaning that we will have interconnected with the ground mount power plant. We will have a heat pump, a big heat pump, a central heat pump, and we will have a ice storage facility. I'm not so sure if Peter, do you know what's an ice storage facility?
I roughly know, but maybe if you can unpack that for the audience, that would be great.
Okay, so basically it's a big tank in the ground filled with very normal water, drinking water. That would now need a small foray into the physics of thermal and thermodynamics. So basically, what is heat? Heat is just movement of atoms. So you have this water molecules that are like shaking. But if water turns to ice, meaning at this point between the phases from a solid to a liquid, the movement of the atoms rapidly stops, meaning that making water to ice, that's super counterintuitive, but making water to ice actually frees up a lot of energy. There is a physics term that's called crystallization enthalpy. In German, it's another nice German word. It's called Kristallationsenthalpie.
Okay.
That's something that the German language is very good at doing, this long words that sound very complicated. So basically, getting water to ice frees up a lot of energy, more or less the same amount of energy that you would need to heat water from 0 degrees Celsius to 80 degrees Celsius. So, and that amount of energy can be used by the heat pump as a energy reservoir, and that energy reservoir is tapped in by actually icifying the storage. So what's happening is that during the winter, where you heat a lot, the water will turn into ice, and then during the summer you will turn the ice back into water, and you have recharged your heat storage.
So essentially, the principle is similar to having a battery pack in a sense.
Yes, just for thermal. It's like a form of thermal storage. So you have like a thermal battery. I mean, there are some other concepts, but this ice storage is something it's also not completely new. It's not like this was invented yesterday. So this principle has been around for the better part of 2 decades, but it's not so widely used, mainly because it's a bit complicated to set up and big heat pumps. So it's just ramping up now. But from the different possibilities of storing thermal energy, I think that's a big one because it does not require so high temperatures. I mean, another possibility to store heat would be just heat up sand. There is a startup in Finland actually that's doing that. They got some very interesting results, but then you are talking about something that's like 500 degrees Celsius hot, and that's much harder to handle than just basically water and ice. So, and it puts a lot more stress on materials. So I think at least, let's say, residential use where you don't need that high energy or high temperatures, I think ice storages will be the thermal storage to go.
Indeed, and I think all of these technologies, as you drive up on the production side and scale into economies of scale, of course, the price will come down and the technology refines as well. So it's going to be more accessible to more people. And then it's not going to be only applicable for the industrial scale type of projects, but also maybe for the residential as well. But I'm super excited about both the ice and also the sand one. The sand one I did quite a lot of research in. And I hope to have the guys on the show in the near future. I think it's super cool.
Yes, I think they're doing a great job. I've been watching them for a while now, and I think they're doing a great job. And there are some really great startups with a lot of bright people and a lot of bright ideas to in this field to actually get this field of thermal storage off the ground, which I think will be a very important component of the energy transition to renewable energies, because storing heat is just so much easier and cheaper than actually storing electricity. So I think that's a super important part in the whole Sektorenkopplung.
That's a nice German word.
Yes. Of the whole energy system of the future.
Oh, but that's very cool. And we've talked about the projects you are excited about, but maybe if you can dive a little bit deeper into some of your biggest failures as an entrepreneur and what you have learned from them.
I had a couple of startups before Heliokraft during the time. So the idea to start a company was not the end, but it was more or less the beginning, and everything else was just something that to further that plan. I had a couple of tries. I tried to start an e-learning platform. That's almost 10 years ago. Actually, after I graduated from university with my degree in law, I wanted to start an e-learning platform to help people prepare for the bar exam. But that failed spectacularly because we could not get all the content in place rapidly enough and in the quality that we were envisioning. Then I had a startup that was basically around 2017, 18 that was dealing with the financing of building projects. We thought we had a very good solution for banks to reduce their risk, but the banks thought otherwise. So that was like a clear market mismatch between our idea, which we thought was very bright. And I think on an academic level, it probably was, but like in practical, none of the banks were having it. So that more or less failed in the initial phase. Then with Heliokraft, we had quite a bit failures there as well. But the biggest problem that we had initially to actually get all the grid connection done, because we had people from early on that could do the, let's say, direct current side of our projects, but we had a lot of trouble finding people that would actually deal with the grid connection side. So everything that after the inverters. In the end, we really did a lot of research, and together with two of our engineers, we wrote a Bible on grid connections. So that's something now we can very easily do and solve. But that was a hard problem, and the first projects were a nightmare to connect to the grid, but that's something that we got a lot better.
But that's also something that many companies are still struggling with. If you have overcome that already, then that's already a huge step in the right direction.
Yes, we're very happy. But initially, this was a nightmare, and we tried to find some subcontractors for this, and we had a few over the projects, but with none of them we did more than one project because it was always such a horrible experience. So in the end, we decided to have this in-house and do this ourselves completely, which has been a journey quite a lot, I must say. And that journey is still ongoing, but I think we're now in a much better position than we've been 12 months ago dealing with this. But this from all the problems we had to solve, this was probably the one that we chewed the most on. That was also the most humiliating for us to get this off the ground.
But you actually triggered a couple of things inside my mind as well. You touched on the HR side of things, so difficulty of having to find qualified and good people, especially in solar. We are in a quite niche of a business, and I've seen the Solar Power Europe report of solar potentially doubling in workforce in the next 10 years, which is quite a challenge. Where do you think these people will come from?
Well, that's actually a huge problem, and also one that's keeping me up at night, because we really have a hard time to find qualified electricians and engineers in the whole electrical space. Moving to India, that move that we discussed earlier a little bit, was to a big part also motivated by this, that we were in the position that we really needed more engineering power, more planning power to get things off the ground. So that was a big part of our strategy to solve our HR and workforce issues. That was actually a move in the right direction. We found incredible engineers over there. Then we moved almost all of the planning to India. So that worked out, but still on boots on the ground, you still need to have them. And I cannot legally get so many Indians as I want into the country. So that's still a huge problem. And to answer your question, I honestly have no idea where people will come from. I think that will be a huge problem that will only increase and increase. So we either will drastically change the immigration policies, especially in Germany, but in Europe as a whole, to address this issue and get qualified people into the country, or it's just not going to happen. I think that's one of the two major risks that are faced by the solar industry or renewable energy industry as a whole in Europe. The first one being we don't have enough qualified people. The second one being an extremely one-sided reliance on Chinese manufacturers for modules and the power electronics, inverters. So that is another thing that's probably be a challenge in the future.
I guess for you as a business, what we are really talking about is inputs into the process, right? So on one side, you have the engineers. On the other side, maybe we can talk a little bit about the tooling itself as well. So what kind of software tools do you use to develop these projects, and how that helps you in terms of gaining some efficiencies there as well?
software tools are super important in our process. We do all our planning with VirtuCAD. That's a Belgian company, and we're very happy with them. That gave us a lot of efficiency, and they're not as expensive as their competitors. I might add, some of their competitors really have insane prices that were prohibitive as a startup for us. So, and we're very happy, and we've grown pretty close with the people there. And I think that was a big help, and is a big help in making things more efficiently. Another thing that helped us a lot is the usage of drones. So from every project, we make a 3D image using photogrammetry and use this 3D image as a basis for our planning, especially for big rooftop projects. That's also something that we're constantly faced with to get things more efficiently. Now I'm working on systems that are even making things more accurate than photogrammetry. With a photogrammetry drone, you can get accuracy up to, let's say, 10 centimeters if you do everything very good. Well, what we're now checking out is things like LiDAR to find a cheap solution there. It's been on my agenda for quite some time. When I started out, I found solutions, or most of the solutions I found were like beyond the 30,000 euro range for one system. Now we're more getting into the like 2,000, 3,000 euro range. At the moment, there are some offers that you can already buy fully functional LiDAR SLAM systems for under 2,000 euros. And I'm pretty sure that if we roll this out, we will decrease the cost further and increase the accuracy as a planning base. So that's something I'm working a lot on. And there is this new technology in the 3D space. It's called Gaussian splatting. It works with neural networks that the technology has the potential to get accurate and lifelike 3D digital twins of buildings so that we have a further improved planning basis. So my vision is that we at some point we have like a status or the ability to basically send one guy with a drone and a handheld scanner onto the site, and then we have like a 3D digital twin that everybody in the world can use as a planning basis, and everybody has the same information as somebody who would be on site. It's just a vision, but basically I can have my engineer in India put on a 3D goggles, and he will be more or less seeing the same thing as somebody that's on the site. I mean, of course, that's a vision that's not yet a reality, but that would be something that we're working on to further reduce friction, to further reduce the time for the planning, and to further reduce also time on site, because if you have everything planned out, things on site go a lot more smoother.
Indeed, and I can only echo that. Everybody's looking for one connected workflow, right? So everybody just wants to have their work done as efficiently as possible within one ecosystem. And coming back to the drone side, I will actually put you in touch with my friends at Sitemark. They are covering all stages of the life cycle. But on the design side of things, I hear this over and over again, that everybody is quite tired of having a disconnected workflow. First you fly the drone with one company or even manually, then you move into the design phase, you design your power plant in software X, then you need to export the yield into pvSys, and then you need to move on to operation. So this is quite a challenge, and I think that it's the next $1 million opportunity to create a really open ecosystem where you can connect different providers via an API. So an EPC or project developer such as yourself can move along the whole life cycle of the project.
That would be a real game changer, because actually the story also goes on. You have this many like disruptions in the engineering space from a EPC point of view, but that's only part of the life cycle, right? So you have the whole like customer relationships managing process. getting the people on board with the project, developing the project, getting all the permits, the grid connection permits, and so on. And then you go into the design phase, and then you have this different stages of design, like doing a preliminary design to get the customer on board to make an offer, then have the detailed design, which basically is everything. Then you have the communications design between the SCADA system and the inverters, and you have like a million different design jobs that are, some of them are automated, some of them are not automated, some of them are covered by tools like Virtucad, some of them are not covered. For example, the whole communications space, which is increasingly important, and which is also something that will increase in the future as grids are getting more smarter and smarter. But then you also have the space of actually operating the power plant, meaning that you need to control it. You need to operate in all the details. You need to fix things. You need to gather data around it. And so everything is in different silos. So especially the operating side is like a completely different silo at the moment than the engineering side, but you also need a lot of data from the engineering side. So to have an integrated system that's basically covering the life cycle of a power plant, not only solar, every power plant, or from cradle to grave, basically, that would be something that would be a real game changer. I mean, if somebody is looking for a business idea and wants to join this, please hit me up. I have a lot of ideas and plans laid out. I just don't have the time and the resources at the moment to do this myself. And I rather be focused on Heliokraft and its business model. But if somebody is listening to this and feels like, okay, that's something I want to start on myself, please reach out, because I really think that this is something that's going to change the industry by a lot. And I think there's a huge opportunity to have this interconnected software that really deals with all aspects.
Indeed. And I think you still need to move into the digitization of all aspects of the whole value chain as well. Yeah. And this is going to be a huge game changer with AI. You've touched on it as well. But speaking of AI, where do you see the biggest contribution of AI to solar?
I see two main areas. One opportunity I see in actually designing stuff, aid design. I mean, there's already a lot that happened there with algorithmic processes that will automatically create module layouts or cabling paths. That's already working pretty well, but I think that there is some improvement to be had with using AI supported design methods. So meaning that we can basically ask the AI to identify suitable areas on roofs, for example, or identify suitable cable paths in buildings. I think there's a lot of potential that's at the moment basically done manually. And the second, and I think in the end, more impactful AI application in the energy world is actually steering an integrated energy system. To elaborate a bit further, so we talked a lot about this amazing German word called sector coupling. And in the end, in the sector coupling, you need to have some sort of control function, probably something that's centralized, that will tell the heat pump, okay, now it's a good time to heat, because at the moment the energy from solar is available. Maybe it's better to not make the heat pump work, but store the energy in a battery, because the weather will be warm in the foreseeable future. So you will predict you will not have so much need for heating. So there are a lot of optimization decisions that are only increasing in complexity. Have a solar power plant that's generating energy. Then we have a heat pump that's creating heat. Then we have an ice storage facility that's used as an energy reservoir. Then we might have a thermal buffer, or we might also have a high temperature storage. Then we have an electrical storage in form of a battery. Then we have a heating grid, the district heating grid, that's also a buffer in itself. And then we have demand predictions, when how much energy is being consumed over the next 24 hours, 1 week, something like this. Then we have a prediction about the weather, so how much solar will be available. We have a prediction about how much heat energy I will need. And you see, you can spin this, and that's just a basic setup. So if you add things, if you add consumers, if you add more ways of producing, I mean, add a small wind farm, medium-sized wind farm into a system like this, things get exponentially complex in their optimization. So I think steering this increasingly complex system of different components and different predictions, and will be a task that in the end only can be handled by some sort of machine learning and AI algorithms. The time where somebody sits in a chair with a lot of screens in front of them and is pushing buttons and rerouting energy is definitely over, but it's also increasingly not solvable by traditional algorithmic means.
Indeed, and I think the more data we have, we actually have a twofold challenge: having not enough data and having too much data. But I think if AI continues like this, then it's going to be beneficial to rather have too much data, and we will know what to do with it. So on the analysis side, it's going to be definitely a huge step forward.
Yes, definitely.
And we talked about AI and production as well. One of the biggest needs in Europe is production. And if you want to enable this new production, we will need exponentially more energy here. What do you see the market like in Europe in terms of manufacturing, let that be modules, inverters, etc.? And where do you think that's heading?
Well, maybe we start with a quick look into the past. I mean, once Europe, also Germany, we were like the first movers in terms of manufacturing equipment for solar, especially modules.
This is a short clip with my conversation with Stanislas van der Vaeren, Managing Director of Sitemark, a cutting-edge drone platform revolutionizing solar project management. Please enjoy.
And at some point, we wanted to do something with drones, and then met our third co-founder, Vishal, whom we ended up building Sitemark with. So we wanted to do something with drones, and we were the guys behind the technology mainly, and he was going to drive the business development. And the rest is history.
All three kind of components aligned, right? The drone, the software, and the motivation as well.
Exactly.
What I can really feel and attest to is that despite Belgium being such a small country, the entrepreneurship side and the startup scene is really, really helpful, and people are just super open-minded. And I think that's a huge benefit, to have such a good community and somebody you can actually lean on when you're getting up and running.
100%. So we had a lot of great mentors and people around us. So we were able to benefit a lot from that, I would say. And also Belgium is one of these countries where you're quite comfortable out of school. I mean, many of the studies are paid for, so you don't have to start your life with a huge debt. So I would say right out of school is a perfect age to experiment and to just pretend to your parents you're going to do another. Instead of doing a master's and getting my parents to pay for my food during my master's, I kind of created a startup and said, you're going to pay for my food for the first 2 years of the startup as I figure out how to create value.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense, right? Validation.
Yeah, super fun. So I would recommend everyone to give it a shot.
And you guys have been up and running for how many years now?
So we started in 2016, and basically that makes it 9 years now, if my math is right. So time flies when you're having fun. To me, it feels like we're 3 years old, but yeah, 9 years.
And maybe just to frame it for the audience, so you started 9 years ago. What's the headcount status numbers right now?
To give you an idea, today we are 24 in Belgium, and then we have a bit of a remote team with an additional 15 people, something like that. Status, yeah, we're growing. We're growing aggressively. I'm not going to disclose the numbers, but numbers to be very proud of. So definitely rule of 40 plus, if you know the rule of 40.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. That's a CFO talk.
Yes, exactly. So we're very proud of that. I'm not a numbers guy in the end, if you get to know me better, but rule of 40 is one of those things that we've always dreamed of.
Yeah, and I mean, where I see you guys as having a very unique value proposition is that you really follow the full life cycle of the project from the get-go all the way to operation. And then you're hedging the risk a little bit as well, that you're not only talking about one particular stage where, for example, in Europe, the numbers came out from last year. They weren't amazing, less than 10% growth year on year, which everybody was kind of not expecting. But, if the numbers are not lying in the US, they still have the expectation of adding another 40 gigs of new capacity, which is quite huge.
Digitizing construction has been a real blessing for us. And I think it's super nice because our friends in operations and maintenance, original friends, are thanking us for building the construction product because the handover is so much smoother. Often what we see is that in operations, people don't have all of the right documentations. They have kind of barely a PDF of the site, not even a full DXF as-built. Or sometimes they get the design files, but the as-built is very different. So none of the sites actually gets built the way it was designed. But if you're using Sitemark, you have like the full chain of how everything was built, when it was commissioned, all the quality tickets, everything. You can go back in time. And that's just such a luxurious gift to these operational people because they're getting like the most beautiful handover. And I think that's also what I'm really excited about is kind of helping my original friends in O&M by offering full lives.
Indeed. So you guys are giving them the love that they deserve, right? Like when the hype cycle dies down, once the project is built, I think that's kind of the less sexy part of the operation. And that's super interesting. And you might be quite delighted by one of my future guests as well. They are doing cleaning. So that's also part of the O&M side. So I'll also put you guys in touch.
100%. So cleaning is actually quite relevant to what we do, at least in the thermography. So because if you don't clean your solar sites, you're going to end up creating hotspots on the bottom of the panel, things like that. Sometimes bird shit literally can create also hotspots. So we do recommend to clean your solar sites right before the thermography so that you have a site so that we don't have any false positives. Of course, Sitemark we can categorize them as false positives and we can link it to kind of cause shadowing because of soiling or bird poop. But it's better to have a clean result. And so now what we're doing is a lot of the times we're kind of coordinating together with the cleaning company so that we can time it all right and have the thermographies right after. So we ended up becoming friends with many cleaning companies over the years, a bit worldwide. And I would have to say the cleaning community is there's a lot of great people there.
Yeah, so you guys are essentially building an ecosystem.
Kind of by accident. So I'm a big fan of being open. So I believe that I don't want to be the one tool to rule them all. We don't have the ambition to be the Apple iCloud. We want to integrate with the best tools out there. I think the best tools are constantly changing. It's a very dynamic market. And so we want to kind of offer people the ability to build what we call a best of breed software architecture, where they can use all of the different softwares that they're already using, what they believe is the best for their organization. And they should be able to glue them together in a very easy way. Sitemark is built on open APIs, so it's very easy for us to connect with many different tools. And we've got the craziest combinations. Our customers are saying, look, we're using that monitoring system, we're using this ticketing solution, we're using this weather provider. And then we can connect to all of these to be able to have one connected workflow. But I believe that the customer drives the workflow. It's their way of working, and the software shouldn't drive how you work. Software should adapt and connect.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it really reminds me of an example from my past life. I used to sell software basically my whole career. And if I think about the ERP, it's the same principle, right? So digitization came with COVID, and then companies quickly had to kind of digitize even from smaller to mid-size. And then you still needed to educate the customer about, look, you either kind of adapt your workflow to the software or vice versa. But of course, the sticker is going to be a little bit different. And it's really difficult to keep the software as flexible as you guys do.
Exactly. And I think if I hear ERP, I hear implementation and the pains there. And I think that's also something we focused a lot on. And I hear a lot of asset owners and stuff saying, hey, it's so challenging to implement and to configure all of the different sites in my monitoring system. It's a pain when we buy new assets. to connect, and nothing is clear which inverters, which inputs are going on which channels, and how it all works. And so they end up having multiple monitoring system, and it's kind of an IT nightmare. Plus, I think one of the cool things with a technology like Sitemark is that we don't need any setup. The drone flies over, we automatically kind of detect all of the panels, do the due diligence, give you the insights, and I think within the setup is literally like maybe 1.5 minutes per site. And we even have customers that send us like the full site list of 200 sites they want to inspect, and we can kind of import the entire list for them. So they don't even have to do the import. And configuration kind of happens along the way. And if you connect it to your monitoring system, we can even kind of automatically configure all of the electrical drawings, everything. So I think that's also something I focus a lot on is configuration, ease of use, because I know that IT projects often die with people not getting value in the beginning. So it's like you want to do change management, you want to learn them to use new tools, and the people are always very stressed, especially in the solar business. There's a lot of work, so changing the way you work is not always welcome, and so you get a lot of friction from the people using the tools. And I think if you're able to make a tool that provides value from the first 30 seconds, the third click already kind of gives you like a whoa, nice feeling, you get much faster adoption. So we really try to work on a tool where it's so intuitive that you don't need a manual, you don't need to watch tutorials. Whenever you need information, it should be contextually available and provide value from within the first minute. So often also we give, for example, trainings after the first results, not before. So we say, look, give it a shot, let's do a proof of concept, or let's do 5 or 6 sites together. And then we'll give you the training to your team once we have the results so that they can see their sites in action. And it immediately always is a super engaging conversation because they say, oh, that's not possible. That string is not supposed to be broken. And let's open the monitoring system. And then it's like, oh, yeah, actually, there's an alarm from 2 years ago that we missed. You're right. And then it's like, oh, that's super interesting. And suddenly you get buy-in from the technical team. And it's always a super fun conversation.
That's a really, really difficult thing to do, you know. As you might be aware, my background is more on the EPC and the project developer side. And, you know, if you're talking to the tech guys, there's always some sort of setup, and it kind of reroutes you back to the initial problem of, especially in Europe, most engineers are over 40 or maybe even 50 if you're talking about Germany, etc. And, you know, of course, the older you get, the more resistant you are to change. And if you have a product that really falls in your hand and it works on its own, that really creates so much value that you are 100 times more likely to use it.
Yeah, it's important to convince them in the first 2 or 3 minutes. But we have a lot of German customers, and they're very happy with our solution too. So I believe it is possible to do it.
You're doing something right, for sure.
We're definitely doing something right. But Belgians and Germans are good friends. It's the same colors in the flag.
Just the other way around, yeah, indeed. And this is actually a quite good segue to talk about technology and maybe AI as well. Is there something that you can share with the audience in terms of AI and how that's utilized in Sitemark?
Definitely. So I think Sitemark, our core product, runs on AI. Of course, I think it's the most obvious answer is that we're doing image analytics. So we're capturing data with drones, mostly photos, if we're not doing the LiDAR-based stuff, and thermal photos. And then we're going to create, in many cases, we create orthomosaics, which are these big maps. Sometimes we also work photo-based, and then we're going to have to look into those photos using AI and identify panels, poles, trackers, fences, trenches, stock management. So we're detecting so many different things. We're also finding the issues in the thermography, like the different anomalies. All of that runs mainly on AI, I would say at 98%. Of course, we have humans in the loop, so the AI is able to kind of give us an indicator of how confident it is. And whenever AI says like, hey, this one I'm not sure, it goes to kind of offshore team, which can then, there are certified thermographers and guys like that can then validate and improve the AI as we speak. Because every time we correct the AI gets smarter, and we can add all of that corrected data into the next version. So we've been doing that over the last 9 years. And that's really why I think we are a very cost-effective, strong solution, because we can deliver fast because of the AI, and we can deliver high quality because we trained it ourselves. And then what else are we doing with AI? Well, I mean, image AI and machine learning, all these fancy things have been around for some time now, but really the LLMs and the whole ChatGPT thing is quite recent. And so I think it also improves anyone just sending emails and things like that. And so we're also implementing, last year we actually we're working on a 3-year strategy for the future, and we said, okay, every department needs to have at least one AI project. And it's quite exciting to see marketing AI, sales AI. Everyone can benefit from AI. And I think part of our growth is also efficiency, and efficiency comes directly from AI. So we've done many crazy things. I'm not going to disclose everything because part of it is our secret Coca-Cola recipe. But I think there's many reasons to be excited, especially in sales.
Oh,
Many
for
things.
sure. I mean, if I take my own example, it really cuts my work down to by 90% in most cases.
Exactly.
It depends which model you use. You can tweak and play, and it really eliminates a lot of barriers as well, right? So if you really wanted to, you could build even an app on your own without having almost non-technical knowledge. And when it comes to text editing, creativity, and all of these things, it gives you superpowers, literally.
It's super nice. Everyone now has 10 personal assistants. And so you get to spend more time doing the things you love, which for me is really talking to customers, solving problems, being genuinely excited about what's next. So I'm super excited about how it has helped us, for sure.
Amazing. Okay, so do you think or do you feel that you might even branch out to other renewables as well, like hydrogen and batteries, etc.? Or we'll see
We did
about that.
hydrogen projects already. Well, we did hydro projects, not hydrogen, but like dams, inspections of dams, things like that. We're doing also BESS systems and batteries, but not really with the drones. So people are using our ticketing solution and the FieldLink app to be able to take thermal pictures. Also, these days you can attach like a thermal camera to your smartphone, and then all these pictures are put in our cloud or georeference linked to the components in the DXF. So it's quite useful and an easy workflow. And so they love it so much on their solar plants that they say, look, the battery is on the solar plant. We'd rather use one solution to do everything. So in that way, we're already enjoying helping customers on BESS.
Oh, that's and do you have any particular projects that you would pinpoint? It can be either solar. That's really an outlier. That's something super interesting. The other day I spoke to a guest, and he was talking about the recycling of methane and basically getting green methane and utilizing that for renewables. So maybe you guys have something similar up your sleeve.
So at Sitemark, we do try to focus, even though customers always have great ideas and we have great potential of things we can solve as problems, but we really try to focus on our core mission. But we've done, for example, the largest sites in the world, in the Middle East. We did a site, I think it was in Peru at like 3,800 meters altitude. So at
Wow.
that point, the drones had challenges flying. So we had to kind of import these special propellers for the drone to be able to, because you have less air density there. So the drone has challenges flying. So you need bigger props and stuff. And so also the batteries were very cold. And so we've traveled the world, and sometimes, for example, I was with my girlfriend in La Réunion, which is like this island, well,
Beautiful place.
beautiful place. And my girlfriend is like, yeah, okay, let's hit the local restaurant here. And I told my girlfriend, like, yeah, it's crazy how we have sites all over the world, and let's check on the app. And I opened the app, and the rooftop of that restaurant had been inspected by Sitemark like 4 months ago. So it's crazy how we're traveling the entire world, and even on islands at the complete opposite side of the world, we did inspections. And sometimes I open the Sitemark map and I just spend my evening clicking around and traveling the entire globe and looking at pictures of solar sites under snow in the desert. So I think
It completes the entire circle.
exactly. I think it's super exciting to see that customers are that it kind of grows. It kind of is growing naturally, and people are just happy. The community, I couldn't be more proud of. Like when we read the G2 reviews and people are saying like best supplier out of all my supplier, best service, genuinely super happy software. And then
That's
it's
not many
super nice.
companies that can say.
Exactly. I think it's so fun and nice, because then I talk to Maxime, my co-founder, and I tell him like, look, if we didn't say no to my dad that day, we might have not created this, and we might not have created this genuinely nice experience for people. And we're doing something nice for the planet. Also, we're helping accelerate renewable energy by lowering the cost of maintenance and accelerating. I mean, improving also the cost of tracking construction sites and helping digitize all of that. So we're doing something nice. We're having a whole lot of fun throughout the entire experience. And not only our customers are super happy, but my number one priority on top of customers is actually the people inside Sitemark. And every year we do like an employee happiness survey. And I think 2024, we had like 9.8 out of 10 happiness. So everyone was just super happy.
Wow.
And it went from like best coffee machine ever to like best activities, best colleagues.
So it really speaks to the company culture, right? How would you sum it up in one sentence if you had to?
I think it's when you hire great people and you really are consistent with checking values, motivation, and openness, and you realize that you create a top-notch team of very open, friendly people, and then that they work great together. And I think that's the basis. If you have great people that are happy to work and that are balanced at work and love what they do, this immediately also kind of is felt by the customers, and then
Indeed.
customers love engaging with it, and then the whole thing is kind of a snowball effect. And that's because then you have this great team, and then people talk. So I would say 70% of our hires are like through the network. So it's like people we meet at fairs that say like, guys at Sitemark, you seem to have so much fun. If you ever have an opening, please let us know, because I heard from this or that colleague that it's just the best job they've ever had. And so this reputation also drives people naturally applying. Also, we stopped having headhunters, no headhunters, because we just get generally nice applications. And most of the people we hire, as I said, come from being a friend of someone who's already worked at Sitemark. I think that's a genuine compliment to the whole culture.
That's the best network and networking exercise, right?
Exactly. That's super exciting.
That's very rare to see. If we are talking about mantras, motivation, and these kind of aspects, what would be the book that you would give to your friends, family? What you have given the most? What you like the most?
So my favorite book, you mean?
Yes.
Lately, I haven't had a lot of time to read books. So I listen to a lot of podcasts in the car. So that's when I have time, when I do my 24-minute commute. But reading books, I typically do it on holidays. But of the last year, I'm actually, people might not know, but I'm engaged. So I'm getting married over the summer.
Congrats.
And so when I read books, it's about how to do a great wedding and stuff, which my girlfriend makes me read, and like wedding decoration, wedding planning 101.
Sufficient motivation.
Exactly. But in terms of recommending a great book, unfortunately, I will fall short of a great answer.
That's a better answer than most people will give.
Okay.
And we are back. Stan, thank you very much for coming back for a second episode of this show.
No problem. I'm really excited to deep dive even further into the great questions you have.
Cool. I mean, we touched on a number of topics before, including AI, how Sitemark is positioned against your competitors, and what are your kind of growth rates and what are the plans. So maybe we can kick off there.
For sure. So it's I think we're in a very exciting space. Software in solar has never been I think as exciting as now. The market is growing fast, and it's not anymore about people trying it out, but I think we reached a point where people know there's a need. So especially in what we started with 9 years ago, thermography, people are convinced that thermography has benefits. It's not anymore like, let's try thermography. It's really about how can we get the most out of something we know we need. And so that brings us also to a point where people are thinking, how do I build up the right ecosystem of softwares? And I think that's a very interesting question that I often discuss with our head of product. And the team is like, what are our customers using as softwares? And how can we fit into that ecosystem and provide value? If you think about it, the essence of it is, I think, the best solution is really to build what we call a best of breed solution, where people can link up the very best softwares that they have, and to really use the best software for every part and every need. So you have the best accounting software, the best design software, the best field ticketing software, the best thermography software, the best monitoring system. And if you talk about softwares with the average asset owner O&M, they are using something like 7-8 softwares. If you're removing Excel and emails, which everyone is using, and the classics, and that's too much, I think. And it's very frustrating because in many cases the workflow has to navigate to like 3 or 4 softwares to get something done. And so there's two real options there. There is one option which is let's create the one software to rule them all approach, which I think is not the right approach. And then there is the approach which is best of breed, which is let's link the existing softwares that everyone has into a common format where everyone benefits and all the softwares communicate and people don't feel locked in. And that's really something that we, since day one of the last 9 years, have always been focused on. So in Sitemark, literally in every single window of the platform, you will have an import and an export button. And we go to like Excel, PDF, CSV. And I think that's very important. Just because it means that people are not locked in and they can go from one software to the other, even just by downloading and importing into the next and then again.
And it also makes it less technical in terms of, many people are still using Excel and PDF and all of these things. So it's the basic foundation blocks.
Especially because in many cases you're working with different stakeholders, and even though you might have an architecture which is fully integrated, you still have to send that file to the other party who has to continue and then send something back. So we will always need to have imports and exports at any point throughout the life cycle and of all the projects. But we're taking it one step further, and we're now also integrating. So we're building integrations with monitoring systems, building integrations with design tools, building integrations with many tools. And the idea is that ideally all these tools should talk to each other so that we are all working in the same language in terms of also having all the information about the site, like site name, site properties, like which panels are installed, what inverter, architectural things. But also have a very good idea of the layout, like where are all the panels located, things like that. And then also how is everything connected. So ideally, every single element on site, or what we call components, should have an electrical hierarchy, a mechanical hierarchy, and a GPS location, meaning that we can talk in any of the languages that the other softwares are using, and that we can really translate that and kind of become an integration node for many of the softwares out there. And that's something I'm personally very, very excited about. And we've been doing that over the last 6-9 months. And I have to say, customers are very excited about linking their softwares, and they really buy into the vision of bringing it all together. And so I think if I could talk to the other people joining this podcast and who will do episodes after me, please consider making your software open and having an open API. And if you want to connect your software with mine, I'm only one call away or an email away. It's very easy to find me. You just go and stanislas.vdv@sitemark.com. I'll send you an email back, and I would love to integrate with you.
Indeed. We will also link to that in the show notes below. But so you guys are in your DNA moving towards more of a Google type of company as opposed to an Apple. So you really want to have a platform to basically build on top of, right?
Yeah, certainly. So we like to believe we are somewhere in between. We have the ease of use of an Apple and the great interface of an Apple. I think it's really something where we're strong. We have a lot of feedback. If you read G2 reviews on Sitemark, people are always saying ease of use, platform, no manual needed. It was super interesting, super easy to understand the concept. Yet we want to be open. So we don't, certainly, I feel like I'm more Google. So we're more of an open company. And we really never want to lock in people. So we want to, also in terms of like multi-year agreements, like we don't want people to feel locked in and that they have to feel locked to Sitemark and that they can never run away. No, I think we should deserve to do year-over-year business with people, and we should keep on being the company that provides most value for the best price and the best service. And I think we are scoring very high on these three things.
Excellent. And I mean, I guess it's also a kind of goal and short-term goal for you as well to be able to need to develop faster, right? To be better every single year, to keep up with the innovation and keep those customers on board and also keep them satisfied on the long run.
Yeah, it's certainly a challenge to stay ahead and to be that company that's seen as the most innovating. And I think it's a combination of multiple things. So we spend a tremendous amount of time in product, more than in engineering, I would say. And what the product department really does is it develops two visions. So we have always a long-term vision in which we kind of set bold visions of saying like we're going to integrate, we're going to build like an amazing tech stack which kind of creates the whole components and structures the entire a digital twin of a solar farm across the entire life cycle. I would say those are bold visions that we have actually executed on, and we have many bold visions to come. And unfortunately, I cannot disclose them with you, but I'm really excited about them. And it will come soon. But on the same at the same time, we also have a lot of business reviews. So we actually challenge ourselves to do an annual business review with every single customer that we have. And there we really listen to, okay, how was your year, and what are the improvements that you would like to have, and we really try to tailor make the platform to every single user or customer that we have. It's, again, go and read G2 reviews. They will tell you product development it feels like everything is tailor made, and it's a really tough process to try and get all of your customers aligned and to give all of them the feeling that we are building exactly the features that they requested.
That's what was going to be my next follow-up question, actually. How do you balance the two sides of the coin? How do you balance off the customized software versus actually keeping the product running and the product, developing? Because it's actually the two extremes where you need to find a good balance in between.
So I think it comes down to having a bold vision in the first place, knowing exactly where you want to go, and to develop the bold vision, of course, listen to customers, and then really solve the core problems that they have, and make a solution that you think, okay, if we can do that in the next 2 years, it will change the industry forever. And then try and get buy-in from all of the customers on that vision. Explain them what you want to do, sell them on the vision, and often customers are getting really excited about it, and then somehow you kind of drop the main vision and you say, this is where we want to go, and then they will actually solve the road towards it. They will get really excited, they'll buy into the vision, and they will define all the functionalities needed to get there. And whenever something diverts from that primary vision, you have to just explain them, look, I don't understand how this or that is going to help us reach this common goal that we had to do this. And it's so exciting. Like, it's the most exciting thing ever to co-develop with customers and to get their smiles at the end of the process, and to say like, hey, this is what we've built together, and that they get this feeling of like it was custom built for me, based on my experience and my requirements. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean that's quite a unique approach to what I've seen in the past. And out of curiosity, who is doing the interviews or the follow-ups? Is it the product team, or do you have a dedicated customer success or something like that? Because in my previous life, typically it would be either the sales team or customer success trying to get feedback and communicate that to the product team. But of course, this link, if it's too long and the channel is goes through too many intermediaries, many of the key messages get lost. So how do you tackle that?
So every customer at Sitemark has a commercial representative and an operational representative. So that's really how it works. So that means that in the commercial department, we design the vision together with the customer. We try and understand their challenges. We try and show them the value, and we build a bold dream together. And then towards the end of the process, whenever the deal is getting very tangible, I would say, and we transition to execution, we basically assign a dedicated operations manager that will be responsible for delivering that dream. And then on regular touch points, we basically organize kind of retrospectives with that operational person and the salesperson to see like, how are we doing on delivering the dream? Are we actually making the change happen? And what can we be doing better? And we found that this is a really nice way of working, because it allows sales to focus on sales activities and to basically spread awareness of the very best solution out there, and to try and educate people about what Sitemark can do, while operations is really focused on delivering the best quality, delivering everything on time, and making sure the customer stays happy. And it works. It's really something that we've been experimenting a lot with and found out to be a great solution.
It's a very interesting system, and it also begs the question, on the other hand, that doesn't this take you a little bit further away from being a pure SaaS product, or how do you see that? Is this essentially repackaging of a certain package of existing features, or are we actually really developing some custom features for some key customers? How should the audience understand this?
So we nearly never design custom features. It's very, very rare. I would say maybe 3% of our development goes into custom features. So that's really not what we do. The operational follow-up is really in terms of making sure the customer gets the impact that we wanted. So much, I would say, the main energy there is going to training, because we believe you can buy into a vision, but what's important is that people use the solution and that they're aware of what the capabilities are. So that's really eye-opening, and we have a policy which is really free training. So we give as many trainings as we want, because we believe once people have seen and understand the value of Sitemark, it's a gift for life. Like they will have seen it, they will have understood the impact. And
In this section, I will be talking with Orcun Baslak. He is the CEO and co-founder of both pvX and Solarian. pvX is a solar PV design company, and Solarian is a PV design consulting company. Please enjoy.
We have done one job and the second job and a third one, fourth one. And then I figured out that most of the stuff we do is iterative. So I wrote some sort of little codes there and there to optimize stuff, develop some software for checking the fields, making reporting easier, error prone, etc. And we have all those limited small softwares running in the company, but we were never into the real software business. We weren't a software company, but we are a very efficient engineering and consultants company. And then one day, some foreign company sent me a meeting request and said, look, we have a software that does this. And I thought, is this really a product? Can they sell it? And then I realized that we have something in-house that we can turn into a product. Then how pvX started, we are utilizing it everywhere.
So essentially, the product is a side effect to the actual consulting business. It's very, very interesting because you immediately have validation as well of the markets.
True. Because I never wanted to be the first guy that dives into a market. Rather, I prefer a market that is steady growing, and the PV software market is PV is steady, it's growing, and the software market in PV it's new. I can say that it's like a 3 or 4 year old market right now, but it is also growing at a steady pace. And there are many new things that you can do in the PV software market. Currently, it is too tied to electrical engineering background and all those detailed engineering stuff. But we need a new paradigm. That's how we got into the market, actually.
Okay, makes sense. And when I was preparing for a meeting, I was reading through your CV and doing my research, and one keyword that came back and back is the simplicity. So simplicity through design, through the software. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Sure, great. Have you ever been a Facebook user?
Yes.
Then Instagram came into our lives. Then right now, the most kids are using TikTok. I'm not, but again, most people are using TikTok. Okay, if you look at those software, you will see that in Facebook, it requires some effort like finding friends, posting, reading, etc. But people didn't like it and they needed transformation. And then came Instagram. Like they have the photos and you swipe the photos. You don't read the text, but you just get the image. And then Instagram said, we need something much consumable, and stories came in. A video takes the whole screen and you constantly go to the next page. And right now, there is the thing called TikTok. It's all about short videos and it's full on dopamine because people want to consume the content in a very fast way and they just want to be happy. So, from Facebook's effort to all the way to TikTok's short videos, we had a transformation in the last 15 years. This same thing will apply to solar, and you may wonder why. It was 2008 or 2009 when I first designed my power plant, and we were debating on the inclination angle of solar power plant. And we decided after many hours of works and calculations, we decided that 27.5 degrees is the best answer. And we went to the field and checked every module for that. And then it was just one project and all the engineering manpower was there for to fix it. Then came the second one, then the third one, then the fourth one. Nobody ever got into that detail anymore. They just want to get the things done. And right now, like fast forward all those years, I see that like there are a huge amount of solar PV projects coming in and going out, investors evaluating, drawers, people that draw the detailed design are drawing. They just want to get rid of them and they want to do it very fast. And being fast requires you to get less input from the user. The user basically wants to be done with it. They don't want to select many things. If you use pvSys, you have to select it 1,000 times, then you get an output. They don't want to do it, and employers wants to use the widely available manpower. So you need a software that doesn't ask you many questions. It can be used by junior people, and more or less it can give you accurate results. And this is simplicity. You, as a solar engineer, I have to design such a tool that this tool should do everything without asking any questions, and it should be a very small percent away from the best result. And that is the simplicity. That is what we aim for.
This is super interesting because I'm actually almost from the same field as you. I was dealing with mostly EPCs and project developers, selling the same buyer persona you guys are. But what really struck me is that the business people and the engineers really have two different mindsets when it comes to the project. So both in terms of the inception, the development, and also the application. You are kind of on both sides of the coin.
Sure.
Can you comment on this?
Sure. We are consulting many companies, and in the past, I was really obsessed with the technical details of a project. And even something doesn't go the way I want it to go, I would really enforce all the people that is working in the project to get it right. But eventually, financing came in. Then you realize that what people that do the investment really care about the money. You can build the best power plant ever, but if you build it in 3 years, then it's not going to make money for the first 3 years and it's a disaster. So you have to balance things out. And this is what I learned. And eventually, I came to a phase in my life, in my technical life, that what's really important is the return. So I wanted to optimize everything for the returns. On technical side, if a technical issue is something that can be dealt afterwards, we never stop it. If it is something that can be fixed later on, we don't ever stop the process. And this is focusing on the software side.
So essentially the methodology is to reverse engineer the whole project from the finished result. The goal is to deliver the project 95% detail, and then we can still do the final touches once they are required.
Exactly. But even for that process, I want to go for the 100%. I don't want anyone to touch it because I just want to be able to deliver the final results. That's the aim.
Indeed, it makes perfect sense. When we are on this note, if we are talking about simplification, what was the biggest or most profound piece of simplification that you guys delivered that had the biggest impact on the business?
Currently, if you look from the software side, it is probably the earthworks. It's like the cut and fill calculation. Because since we are managing many big solar power plant projects on our consultancy side, the most costly part is the earthworks, the cut and fill amount. Because in Turkey, you can't build on flat areas. There's always hills, mountains, etc., etc. So people that offer quotes to investors, they always say this is the amount of solar modules, this is the amount of construction, this is the man hour, etc. And they at the close they say the amount of cut and fill hasn't been calculated and it will be charged when it is calculated. And we say included in the capex, and I say we can't calculate it because we have to first go to the field. And sometimes it reaches amounts of 1 or 2 million euros, and they can get very big. It's really expensive, but currently we have all the technology we need to make the terrain better. Current terrain applications, terrain software is for building big buildings, like making terrain flat, stable, or roads. But they don't really think about in terms of solar. And if you think in terms of solar, you can just apply an algorithm and make the terrain in the best way possible just by iterating using different terrains. And once we launch this feature, people were like, could that really be done without an engineer going to the field making all the measurements? And we said, I think we can. So you should try it out. And they tried it. And once they started saving the cut and fill amount, they decreased it very much. First, their quotations become much more stable in terms of earthworks, and they were certain about what they're going to do. And this created a huge impact, especially in Turkey. Huge impact.
That's one of the most dreaded feature from the side of the engineers as well, from the project developers. But it's quite impressive that you guys found a good solution for this. Not all of the companies in the top 5 design softwares can do this. Very impressive, and it of course expands your market as well.
True, but Turkey is known for construction. We have people that knows how to deal with construction. If you check all around the world, you will see that there are many big Turkish construction companies, and those guys are very good with soil because it's all we do. Turkey is all about constructing buildings, so we have the knowledge and we just put this into use.
Makes sense. And how do you see that translating into Europe, where you have a little bit more flat terrain as well in some or most cases?
True. Going into the European market was a very big change for us because we were not a software as a service company in the beginning. So we were doing engineering, and there are some dynamics in this market. If you were a $5-10 business, you will just go to Google Ads and people just click your website to their credit card details and buy it. That's a different case. In consultancy business, the ticket sizes are higher than 100,000 euros per project, sometimes reaching millions. And they require special attention that you jump on a plane, go to that country, meet with the officials, iterate, and even the code process takes too much time, and eventually you got a big contract. But this software business sits right in the middle, and it has a very different requirements. So we have to learn the requirements. For example, solar engineering is the same, even though it's a 5-10,000 project or it's $1 million project. It's just man hours, but the logic is the same. But in software, when we were very happy with the earthworks and we went to Europe and we told people about our earthworks feature, for example, in Netherlands, they said, well, this whole country is flat.
Yeah. You have a few of those in Europe, like Poland as well.
And we were like, okay, do you have any other fancy features that we can use other than earthworks? We said, well, we are developing it. Then eventually we moved on to the fully automated development cycle. This is what we are currently focusing on. But we learned the hard way that every market has its own tricks, and it is not something like you can hire a marketing expert in one country and use him or her in different countries. You have to localize everything because talking to a German is completely different. Talking to a British person is completely different. We learned it the hard way.
Indeed. I experienced the same in my previous life as well. But I think the biggest lesson for me was that if you put the countries into 2 buckets, the first one is the mostly flat countries, and the second one is where you have some sort of topography like Spain, Italy.
Yeah.
That kind of gives you an indication. But of course, we do like regulation in Europe, and we like a lot of it. So it's not easy to deal with that. And actually, Solar Power Europe, shout out to them. They are doing a great job at pushing the regulators to standardize things and make EPCs and project developers' life easier. But it's still an ongoing process.
No. They won't be able to do it. It will never be easy.
Yeah,
Have you ever been in project development side?
I've seen it from the outside, but not from within.
Okay. We developed some projects in Turkey. We left it back then. It was in 2014 or 15. But it's a very, very complex process involving humans and humans and humans and very different type of humans. So it's always a localized type of stuff. It's something you can't do from abroad. Very complex.
Makes sense. And there is also the kind of personal touch that goes into the business side of things. When people meet you, they trust you, things are moving much faster, much easier. And humans are, even though at the highest levels of business, we are still emotional.
True, definitely. Italian and German markets, they are very emotional. If you're not an Italian or if you're not a German, then they don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I mean,
You know those rules, right?
yeah, of course. It's different when you deal with a local company, and when you're dealing with some company that's multinational, of course, then it's a little bit easier, but you still need to put the personalized touch on the whole project to win it. That's quite important as well. But what I actually wanted to dig into a little bit deeper is the project management side of things. What techniques did you find most effective when managing solar
Uh,
projects?
well, it's a tough question. We don't really have an effective solution for everything, but different teams have different solutions. For example, for software type of project management, we always prefer GitHub and its projects, its actions, etc. So this is what developers are into. When you talk to developers, they can't really express themselves like a business developer. Software developer express themselves in a very different way. So for software stuff, we have been using GitHub mostly. But if you think about the whole company and whole everything is being put up, it's mostly on my notebook. Yeah, I'm a very manual guy in that sense. For marketing, we are using Kanbans, the little stuff that we shift around, and
Mhm.
it's very easy for them. But overall, it's my a notebook here. Let me show you. The marketing is sorry, the project management is being done here.
Wow. So you keep it old school. Well, that's actually nice. Makes sense.
The thing is, I tried many online note-taking tools, project management tools, all those fancy stuff, but they're just like click and point type of things. But if you are using physically a notebook, there's a speed at which you write, and it slows you down. And while you are writing, it slows your mind. So slowing your, if you want to think very fast, then many different thoughts come in. I don't know if you're into meditation, but it's all about slowing down your mind and having a clear view. So when I'm writing, I think slow, I act in a very slow manner, and I take good notes and I connect the points in a much better way. If I switch to do some Apple Notes or online stuff, then it becomes messy for me.
Yeah, same for me. And you also get more distracted.
True.
It's impossible to get rid of the notifications on the laptop and keep your mind focused. And also just this physical element of moving the hand and the mind together. It's
Definitely.
you access a different part of your brain.
Definitely. And this is what cigars are for. You sit there and you have the ritual. And I don't know if you're into cigars, but
I do smoke maybe 2, 3 a year, usually when I'm on holiday, but I like the slowness
the
when you're
rhythm, the slow
really,
rhythm.
yeah, indeed. I guess it's the cigar itself is just the tool, but on the other hand, it's your breath. You're slowing your breath down. That's what calms you down, and that's what makes your mind reiterate things.
Definitely. Right now, I'm running two companies, and there are many things popping in my life. And when I leave work, when I go home, I feel really exhausted. What I really need is just to clear out my mind and think efficiently. So when I lit a cigar and it becomes all noiseless, it becomes all silent around me, and I just think in a very efficient way.
Yeah, it all goes up in smokes in the most positive way.
True.
Excellent. That's a really good answer. Once you reach the clarity and the mental alignment, then you can actually start delivering good results, like the one you mentioned at the beginning. So the 5+ gigawatts of projects. How do you actually approach that?
When we first built the company, we thought that we will be 4 or 5 people and we will be doing value added projects and running all that kind of stuff. But eventually, solar grew. And once solar grew, your company had to grow. Currently, we run with 45 to 50 people in the company. And I never thought that I will be having a company with this much people. And eventually, it all grows up and the project starts coming in, and there are many good projects that you want to be a part of. Like I want to have a signature in it, and eventually they all piled up because one project after another and then after another, people know about you. It takes, I think, to be stable, it takes roughly 2 or 3 years for a company. If you can hold for 3 or 3 years and do some business, then people will know you, and eventually the projects just came in, and one client told us to another client, and they told us to another client, and currently all the conglomerates in Turkey are working with us in every project being done. We have even either in software side or either in the consultancy side, we are doing something with them, and that's how we reached that capacity. And thankfully, our government is opening the pipeline for more capacities in Turkey. So I think we will have a huge growth in the next 3 or 4 years.
That's very good news because Europe itself, we are hitting a plateau now, and hopefully this year it's going to change a little bit. Turkey is a tough market, but if you have a good grasp and you understand what the clients need, then it's a home run.
Well, Peter, when I first got into solar, it was 2008. And back then, Germany was offering 450 euros per megawatt hour. And Turkish government passed a law and it said basically 100 euros. And everybody said the solar market is dead in Turkey. But the time is shifting. From 2008 to 2025, what I saw is there is a wave. There's a wave that starts from Germany, UK to goes to Netherlands, other European countries, and then comes to Turkey, Ukraine, and then goes to Syria, etc., and then comes back. So sell prices go down, European market gets better, and European market says I cannot install any more capacity, then sell prices go up. So it always shifts. I mean, this 1 or 2 years, maybe it's very stable in Europe, but after 2 years, it will again just go crazy. The same thing happened in Turkey many times. 10 years ago, people said Germany is done with solar. And I was like, how? Well, they installed all the solar they can. And the next year, they installed more. And the year after, they again installed more. Same thing happened in Greece. Same thing happened in Turkey. And it will happen again and again.
The situation is solar, as any other business, is cyclical as well. It's always affected by trends a little bit. Also, the inputs, the raw materials, now the panels are still falling in terms of price. So that's a big, big positive. But of course, there are many, many inputs that make a sausage.
Definitely right.
You touched on never set out to be a large company that you already are at 40, 50 people. How has your mindset shifted, or what do you need to learn in terms of management, keeping people aligned and having them strive for the same goal?
It's been tough. I'm an engineer, so in my free time, I do hobby projects like coding on. Currently, I'm working on AI agents, that kind of fancy stuff. So one side of me has always been technical. However, once you get to that many people and once you start to run a company, then your goals have to change. You have to be sustainable. The company has to be sustainable. So you sit at the top and see the master layout and you have to organize people accordingly. The most important job I do right now is finding the right talent that we can have for the next 5 years, next 10 years. It's all about talent acquisition, because back then when I go to meetings, events, I was more into talking technical things like what is the best solar module, what is the best inverter, what's going on in the market. But right now I'm going to the events to hire people, finding the next hire I can. This is how my mind shifted.
You became more of an operator. I wouldn't want to say less hands-on, but I actually heard the same thing from my previous recording, that hiring and corporate cultures are the two most important pillars of
Definitely.
keeping the business running.
Definitely. The culture and the hiring is very important, because eventually in our organization structure, there are key people that is doing key stuff. Replacing them is really hard. You can't really find the talent, and even you find the talent, it will take roughly 3 or 4 months for them to get into the position. The talent is everything. It's the key point.
Touching on that, you mentioned talent. How would you describe your corporate culture in one word if you had to?
In one word,
Or let's make it 2 words. Relaxed. Okay.
the word is relaxed. Yeah, people here. We don't have any remote, by the way. We are a full on-site company. We don't do any.
Everybody's in the office.
Everybody is in the office physically. We don't do any remote. Because if you come to company and interact with people, you feel like you're a human, like you are interacting, yeah, you are discussing ideas. But if you become a fully remote, it's just Kanbans, Scrum, Agile, tasks to do, time to do, and scores and points. It's like treating people as machines. But people have soul. People must interact. People must discuss with people. And it has to be a lively interaction with voices, tones. This is what I believe. I try to be remote. In COVID days, we were working from home, and at the beginning, like, yes, we can do it, it's doable, the whole world is shifting, etc. But eventually, I find myself that locked into home, not breathing, almost dead. And I said, I'm done with you. Some people say hybrid is much better, like 3 or 4 days office, 3 or 4 days off, remote, etc. But I'm an on-site guy. Our all positions are on-site.
Makes sense. And there is something nice about that as well, that you are in the office, you have that personal touch, you have more cross-pollination as well between the teams and people. I personally would be in the office every single day if I could. But of course, you need to balance with your personal life as well. But I see the point in your view.